So Sneak and Show versus 4-color Phoenix. It's like we have Pluto Delta versus Basic Island. Nothing too explosive to start things out. But we have seen Raczka have some just really messed up turn 2s with this deck.
Right. And one thing I like about the deck is that it feels a bit harder to disrupt than a normal Arclight Phoenix deck, while also having just quite a bit of disruption itself. 4 copies of Cabal Therapy, 2 Inquisition of Kozilek, and a Thoughtseize, alongside 3 copies of Force of Will, all of these cards that can potentially hammer a combo deck like Sneak and Show.
Yes, turn 2 is going to start with Tropical Island and a Thought Scour. Thing in the Ice, Careful Study flipped over. Cracks that Pluto Delta, go to 19, finds Basic Swamp. Definitely saw a Cabal Therapy in the hand.
Now, what's the name?
Brainstorm was the name. In the face of open blue mana, pretty unlikely to hit, but get a look at the hand anyway.
I've not cast Brainstorm in hopes that they just wouldn't name Brainstorm, because you want to get full value out of it. Now, the fact that he missed, though, and Syed's hand is quite good, there's a chance that Zan just kind of runs away with his game.
Yeah, Show and Tell, Ponder, Gristlebrand was hanging out in there. He's going to cast the Ponder. Scolding Tarn is the land for the turn.
Yeah, Zan here just digging for that Show and Tell plus Gristlebrand combo. Maybe looking for some protection, though. You know, not 100% sure what his opponent is playing at this point, I would guess. The thing that's in the graveyard with the Careful Study might give it away, but this is not a normal deck that we see here in Legacy.
Yeah, Zan has likely pieced together the general archetype, but all the pieces, he's definitely not going to have this 100%.
Right. We do apologize for the lighting here. The convention center's lights were halfway turned off at some point earlier, and now that they are turned fully bright back on, there's a bit of a glare.
So David's going to flash back that Cabal Therapy off a little Blood Gas that he's casting here. Gristlebrand is going to be the name off of this one.
It's a pretty nice one to take. But Zan does have access to the card Show and Tell and Omniscience here. And if he can find any of those big threats, if Taylor doesn't have a counterspell, he's in trouble.
Show and Tell, Omniscience, Sneak Attack, they're all hanging out there. So David's going to Careful Study. Arclight Phoenixes hit the bin, 2 of them. He's going to Land Grant, showing a hand of Arclight Phoenix Land Grant.
Yeah, and Zan's going to read this one because this is a card that only really shows up in Goblin Charbelcher. And David's going to use it as his free spell, which gives him his 3rd spell and allows him to return both those Arclights and start pressuring Zan's life total. Now, here's the thing. If Zan doesn't find a big threat, he just lost his Gristlebrand. If he doesn't find a big threat soon, those Arclight Phoenixes are going to tear him to pieces.
Yep, they come across for 6 on this turn. You saw 3 spells were cast. Zan now down to 14.
Now, notably, Zan did not shuffle with that Scalding Tarn after the Ponder last turn. So, looking here like he's just going to cast Show and Tell.
He actually just decides to pass.
I feel like this was the window.
He knows that David would be putting in an Arclight Phoenix because there was a reveal to Land Grant, and taking 9 versus taking 6 might come up. Yeah, David's deck is really light on red mana, so it can be tough to cast an Arclight Phoenix.
I mean, that's fair, but the longer you wait, the more likely it is that Zan is going to find, or sorry, David's going to find another piece of discard or just interaction in general.
Yeah. I suppose Zan, well, he might, depending on how it shakes out, get an extra turn out of this. It seems kind of unlikely, though.
I also think it's kind of unlikely because of that Blood Gas hanging out.
Yeah, that changes it plenty. And Zan already knows about the land drop, too. That's a very good point. Land Grant did find a 4th land.
All right, so David here has cast Thought Scour target himself. Zan's going to crack a fetch land here. Not sure exactly what the response is going to be. Perhaps like Brainstorm or something, plus a Flusterstorm to counter.
Yeah, that was Thought Scour targeting Zan.
Oh.
And an Emrakul was hit, and that's going to shuffle. I think he still had 1 card left over on top from that Brainstorm. And
yeah, may have just been protecting it, and you saw the Emrakul was milled off the top. What a heads-up play by David.
Well, there's the Blood Gas again coming in off that land. And Manamorphose, that'll get Flusterstormed. Attack for 6 out the Phoenixes, Zan down to 7.
Wow, what a heads-up play from David. I am impressed. And Zan can't find that big threat, has to pack him in. David takes game 1.
So the players are going to sideboard here. Dan has some Graph Digger's cages in his sideboard, so he can fight some graveyard things.
Yeah, I mean, the Graph Digger's Cage is a great answer to the card Arclight Phoenix as well as Bloodghast, but that's kind of why David's other threat in the deck is Thing in the Ice. It kind of dodges the graveyard hate cards that will normally be able to take care of Arclight Phoenix, much like the Izzet versions in Modern.
You can check out these players' sideboards on the Cardboard Live extension. The rest is Zan's sideboard: 2 Abrade, 2 Arcane Artisan. That's become kind of stock in the sideboard of these decks. 2 Blood Moon, a Jace the Mind Sculptor, 4 Leyline of Sanctity, 2 Pyroclasm. Is there anything else you like here?
I mean, depending on what he thinks David's hate cards out of the sideboard are going to be, Arcane Artisan might be okay. But for the most part, Arcane Artisan is for decks that are going to play stuff like... the 2-drop that makes it so none of your creatures can come in onto the battlefield. Containment Priest, yes, thank you. Things like decks that play Containment Priest, decks that play, all sorts of annoying, you can't put big monsters on the battlefield because it actually dodges that by creating a token copy. It's a weird one of those very overproduced cards out of one of the supplemental sets, I believe.
David has an extra discard spell and Thoughtseize in the sideboard. That kind of stuff makes sense. I want to pick your brain about a card in the sideboard, though. He has this Assassin's Trophy. Do you think that you would try to pick that fight in this matchup, or is that kind of picking a losing battle?
So if Griselbrand ever hits the battlefield, you're dead. But not if you have an Assassin's Trophy. You could get Zan in a spot where you put Phoenix or 2 on the battlefield in the first 2 turns, apply some pressure, and then if Zan, he can potentially stabilize by putting a Griselbrand on the battlefield and just, never attacking or only attacking when he's going to combo kill you or whatever. And you may need it to just get the blocker off that defensive stance just for, 1 turn. But I don't love it. The upside, though, is that it does answer Graph Digger's Cage, which I think is 100% coming in. And you have to expect something like that from the Sneak and Show sideboard. Yeah, I would say Assassin's Trophy probably comes in. I don't think I would worry about something like Abrupt Decay because it's a bit too narrow.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Players are underway in game number 2. Zan's going to start with Volcanic Island Ponder, shuffles off that one.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that the Phoenix deck relies on is being able to play a discard spell or maybe even a Force Will early on to protect itself from those graveyard hate cards. I think that's why something like Leyline of the Void is particularly powerful right now.
Zan also played Lotus Petal on turn 1. Seems to suggest to me he's worried about getting hit by a discard spell on the pedal. The mana might be important. Yeah,
either that or he just wants to hold up Flusterstorm in case there's some ridiculous turn. Zan is not probably 100% aware of the build that David is piloting. Maybe still suspects that Dark Ritual into Buried Alive play.
Yeah. The turn 1 for David, though, is just an island and a Ponder of his own. He did fetch to do it to 19. On turn 2 for Zan, a Preordain and Scalding Tarn. I believe I spot a second Lotus Petal in the hand, so a good amount of mana. Hasn't pieced together a combo just yet.
All right, there, Raczka here coming in with a discard spell. I believe this is a Cabal Therapy. And we'll see if Zan has a response. All right, looks like Spell Pierce is the answer. It was the Inquisition of Kozilek, excuse me.
And then Ponder follow up here. Look at the top 3. There's a Therapy, Careful Study, Thought Scour. You see he does have another Underground Sea in hand, so kind of set up on lands, though not all of the colors. This is a 4-color deck.
Yeah, but the red is minimal, and very rarely is it that you actually need to fetch up the Volcanic Island.
Reasonable. Yeah, and he does keep them.
Now, he does have a second black mana, so if he gets to untap here and have a real turn before Zan shoves with one of his big effects, David could potentially hit him with 2 discard spells on the following turn and really strip him of any real semblance of aggression.
Back on Zan's side, he will start the turn with a Brainstorm. He's had some large stuff in hand. There's at least an Emrakul hanging out there. I believe a Sneak Attack as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's Sneak Attack or a Pyroblast, but I assume that you are correct that it is a Sneak Attack. Looks like he's just going to go for here.
Yeah, City of Traders, Lotus Petal. There's Sneak Attack. 1 mana left up with that Lotus Petal.
Ooh. Now, Zan could be a bit aggressive here and use that Emrakul as effectively just a deal you 15, destroy 2 lands. That's a pretty good card. If he doesn't do that, David could potentially snag that Emrakul out of his hand. So it looks like he's just going to pull the trigger, hope that David doesn't have any more lands, or that hopefully he can find another threat before David's able to rebuild.
Yeah, so he fired off that Emrakul. David is down to 4, had to sacrifice those 2 lands, and now Zan just needs to find another Gristlebrand or another Emrakul, and that should be able to come across for lethal.
Yeah, but as someone who's played a lot with Sneak and Show, that is never a guarantee. I have lost plenty of games where I hit my opponent with an Emrakul, you know, and this could be one of those games. We'll just have to wait and see.
So David plays Underground Sea, Cabal Therapy on his turn. He named Gristlebrand Soft Flusterstorm. Zan draws and passes back. David's going to keep the lands coming. There's Polluted Delta, fetches down to 3. I think it's another Underground Sea.
I think you're right.
And there's Thing in the Ice.
Yeah, this is a nice one. Thing in the Ice here represents quite a chunk of damage. And if he ever gets it to 1 counter, he can potentially protect himself from a sneak attack swing.
And another Cabal Therapy. I've been told that this one names Force of Will.
All right, Flusterstorm's going to take care of that one.
Oh, there's a gap in my page. It got countered. I was lied to.
It's fine. It's fine. So,
careful study.
Yeah,
David.
And this is a pretty solid one because David's able to pitch a Bloodghast here. Now, he doesn't have any Phoenixes in the yard, but he is able to bring back that Bloodghast, and he can use that Cabal Therapy to name something blind and potentially hit. And if he has just one more spell, he can transform the Thing in the Ice and start attacking for 7.
Yeah, that is the big thing about that flashback in the therapy is it's just he's casting a spell. Anything good in Zan's hand would already be killing you, right? Or you'd be casting a cantrip to try to find that thing.
Yeah, I think that a solid name is like some counterspell. Force of Will is the name here. But he's just going to reveal a hand of Ancient Tomb Island. Ponder for David's going to transform Thing in the Ice, and he finds the blue card to pair with that Force of Will, and Zan's going to need a fat creature off the top right now.
Yeah, attack for 7 with the Horror. Zan's at 12. Back to David.
Oh, no, it's happening. It's happening. He's going to lose after hitting him with an Emrakul. Oh, feels bad, man.
Does not feel great. Here's a Brainstorm for David. The Awoken Horror not lethal just yet, but it is certainly threatening enough. 2 cards back for David.
All right. A swing for 7. Zan's down to 5. He needs a big creature right now because he has to get through that Force of Will. A Ponder's not going to do it. Brainstorm's not going to do it. He needs an Emrakul or Gristlebrand right now.
It's a land grant for Bayou. Reveals Brainstorm, Force of Will. Plays the Bayou, gets Bloodghast back.
Missed on 2 points of damage.
Zan started the turn at 12.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm dumb.
That's not true.
Well, it is debatable. All right, and another Cabal Therapy here.
See the
Another
Lotus
miss.
Petal, and a second Seek Attack. That will not do it.
And that's the trick. If you wait, you have a